Brazilian government blocked X, formerly Twitter, and threatened to fine its citizens $8,900 per day if they use it. Brazil's the sixth largest nation by population in the world, and it now joins North Korea, China, and Iran in the list of countries that have banned X. It's the 12th largest economy in the world and a superpower of the global south. It doesn't matter whether or not you care about Brazil. Its totalitarianism is at risk of spreading around the world. And yet neither Joe Biden nor Vice President Kamala Harris nor anyone else in the U.S. government has denounced the censorship. That's probably because Biden, Harris, and the Democrats all support the censorship and have been directly funding it for years. Now, of course, there is authentic demand for censorship from within Brazil, and it is ultimately up to the Brazilian people to reverse its nation's descent into totalitarianism. Brazil's powerful government-funded news media corporations have been urging censorship, in part because it benefits President Lula's ruling Workers' Party and them directly. It's now up to Senate President Rodrigo Pacheco to impeach the Supreme Court Justice turned dictator Alexandre de Moraes. At the same time, the Biden administration and Democrats have played an influential role in instigating the censorship in Brazil. The FBI went to Brazil and gave its Supreme Court justices advice on how to censor its population. The U.S. government has been funding many of the NGOs in Brazil that have been demanding censorship since the election of a populist president there in 2018. And when I testified before Congress in May of this year, the Democrats on the committee and their witness all defended Brazil's censorship. And Pacheco yesterday affirmed his support for Moraes. The U.S. government, after the election of the populist President Jair Bolsonaro in 2018, funded these pro-censorship organizations which have been demanding censorship. Moraes yesterday openly defended censorship to prevent extremist populist groups from coming to power. As United States Federal Communications Commissioner Brendan Carr noted yesterday, that's a direct violation of the Brazilian Constitution, which explicitly protects political speech. As such, the totalitarian takeover of Brazil is a model for what the Democrats and the legacy news media want for the whole world. Pro-censorship scholars at Stanford and Harvard, Democrats in Congress, and the U.S. news media have long recognized that the First Amendment is an obstacle to their plans. And so they have supported censorship efforts by nations around the world with weaker free speech protections, like Brazil, Britain, Australia, and the European Union. They're looking for them to censor and even block X. We need to grow our global free speech movement because if we don't stop the spread of totalitarianism over there, it will make it harder for us to stop it over here. I urge my Brazilian friends to stay on X. Everyone knows that it would be extremely difficult for Moraes to enforce his insane decree, much less fairly and equally. Proof of this comes from the fact that the Brazilian government and the ruling Workers' Party are still using X, which means that they are also using VPNs to illegally evade their own ban. Brazil is thus not just a dictatorship, but a lawless one. Its leaders are behaving like the hypocritical pigs in George Orwell's Animal Farm. Now, the good news is that Brazilian politicians, including Senator Eduardo Girão, Congressman Marcel Van Hatten, and Vice Governor of Minas Gerais, Matheus Simões, are all resisting the ban and posting on X. I never imagined myself practicing and propagating civil disobedience, said Simões, but censorship cannot be tolerated ever. If you're not already a premium subscriber to X, please consider becoming one now. If you can do more, please consider subscribing to Public. And if you can do even more than that, please make a tax-deductible donation to the free speech movement. Biden and Harris and other political leaders must denounce what is happening. It is incredible that the only U.S. government official to criticize Brazil's dictators is FCC's Brendan Carr. Congress must hold hearings. People around the world must recognize that Brazil's ban of X as an attack on free speech everywhere. Everyone is at greater risk of totalitarianism when major countries like Brazil succumb to it. The good news is that the whole world is watching, and many in the legacy news media in Brazil are denouncing the government's ban on X, many for the first time. It's not too late to turn things around. The world took a giant leap towards dystopia, but a worldwide free speech movement can pull Brazil back. It's time to make 1984 an Animal Farm fiction once again. Thanks for listening.